Fáilte Abhaile, my friends, welcome back to Our Legends. In today's video we're going to look at the story of the Wizard of Kilkea Castle. But before we begin, if you could hit like, give us a subscribe, it would mean the world to us. And leave a comment down below letting us know what part of the world you are from. So without any further ado, let's dive into the story. The first defensive structure on this site, a Mott and Bailey Castle, was built by Sir Walter de Riddleford, Baron of Bray, who was granted the lands of Kilkee by Strongbow shortly after the Anglo-Norman invasion of 1169. Sir Walter's granddaughter Emelina inherited the Kilkee estate, and when she married Maurice Fitzgerald, the third Baron of Offaly, the property was passed to the Fitzgerald family, later Earls of Kildare. They held the castle for 700 years. The castle was located on the edge of the Pale, the area around Dublin that was directly under the control of the English government in the late Middle Ages, so it was frequently a scene of strife between the native Irish and English forces. In the first part of the 15th century, when John Fitzgerald, nicknamed Sean Cam, meaning Humpback John, the 6th Earl of Kildare, was Lord of Kilkee, a fierce battle was fought against two Irish clans, the O'Moores and the O'Dempseys. The fight ended in a bloody massacre, and when the fields south of the castle were later ploughed up, vast quantities of human bones were brought up in the soil. Kilkea Castle was then ransacked by the Irish, and in 1426 Humpback John, the 6th Earl, rebuilt and extended it. A number of unusual carvings, probably dating from this period, can still be seen on the castle walls. Close to the entrance gate into the bawn is the Evil Eye Stone, an erotic carving of curious half-human, half-animal figures fixed high on the wall. Further up the castle, a strange figure of a monkey is carved into one of the chimney brackets. It relates to the occasion when the infant John Fitzthomas Fitzgerald, later the first Earl of Kildare, was caught in a fire inside the castle and was rescued by the family's pet monkey. In 1537, Thomas Fitzgerald, nicknamed Silken Thomas, the 10th Earl, was hanged and beheaded for his rebellion against King Henry VIII. His 5 uncles suffered an even worse fate for their part in the rebellion. They were hanged, beheaded, and then their bodies were cut into quarters, which were put on display around various parts of London. In 1573, Gerald Fitzgerald was restored to the title and estates of Kilkee, becoming the 11th Earl of Kildare. It is this Gerald, nicknamed the Wizard Earl, to which the strangest legends of Kilkee relate. Lord Walter Fitzgerald recorded the legend in the book True Irish Ghost Stories, compiled by St. John Seymour and Harry Nelligan in 1914. This is the story. He was known as the Wizard Earl on account of his practicing the black art, whereby he was enabled to transform himself into other shapes, either bird or beast, according to his choice. So notorious was his supernatural power that he became the terror of the countryside. His wife, the Countess, had long wished to see proof of his skill, and had frequently begged him to transform himself before her, but he had steadily refused to do so, as he said if he did and she became afraid, he would be taken from her, and she would never see him again. Still, she persisted, and at last he said he would do as she wished on the condition that she would first of all undergo 3 trials to test her courage. To this she willingly agreed. In the first trial, the River Grease, which flows past the castle walls, at a sign from the Earl, overflowed its banks and flooded the banqueting hall in which the Earl and the Countess were sitting. She showed no sign of fear, and at the Earl's command the river receded to its normal course. At the second trial, a huge eel-like monster appeared, which entered by one of the windows, crawled about among the furniture of the banqueting hall, and finally coiled itself round the body of the Countess. She still showed no fear, and at a nod from the Earl, the animal uncoiled itself and disappeared. In the third test, an intimate friend of the Countess, long since dead, entered the room and passing slowly by her, going out at the other end. She showed not the slightest sign of fear, and the Earl felt satisfied that he could place his fate in her keeping, but he again warned her of his danger if she lost her presence of mind while he was in another shape. He then turned himself into a black bird, flew about the room, and perching on the Countess's shoulder, commenced to sing. Suddenly, a black cat appeared from under a chest and made a spring at the bird. In an agony of fear for its safety, the Countess threw her arms up to protect it and swooned away. When she came to, she was alone. The bird and the cat had disappeared, and she never saw her Earl again. Over the years, there have been various reported sightings of the Wizard Earl. One of these reported by a blacksmith on his way from Athgarvan to Kildare. He heard the noise of several horses around him, so pulled to the side of the road, where he was terrified to see a troop of fully armoured knights galloping up behind him. Their leader, riding an enormous white stallion, halted his men and asked the blacksmith to examine his horse's shoes. Almost helpless from fear, the blacksmith stumbled over and looked at each shoe, finding them to be made of silver. He reported to the knight that all the shoes were sound. The knight thanked him and galloped off with his men. The blacksmith, in a half-dazed state, continued on to Kildare, when he entered to a public house, ordered a noggin of whiskey, and drank it in one gulp. Another sighting was reported by a farmer who was returning from a fair in Athy late one evening in the direction of Ballator, County Kildare. He was surprised to see a bright light emerging from the Rath of Mullamast as he passed. He left his car and went to investigate, discovering that the light was emerging from a cave in the side of the ring fort. Inside the cave, he was astonished to see several armed knights sleeping with their horses beside him. He very cautiously crept up and, examining the men's armour, slowly drew one of the swords from its sheath. As he did so, the owner's head began to rise and he heard a harsh voice ask him, "Is the time yet come?" In terror, he replaced the sword and replied, "It is not, Your Honour," and then fled from the place as fast as his feet could carry him. It was later said that if the farmer had only completely unsheathed the sword, then the enchantment would have been broken and the Earl would have been into his own again. Returning to Kilkea Castle, around the year 1865, some repairs were being carried out in one of the upper rooms. As a nail was tapped into a wall, it was found to be hollow. A small hole was opened up, and inside, the grotesque discovery was made of an old man, now a mummified corpse, seated at a table with a glass in front of him. He had been sealed up in a false wall, and as soon as the air was admitted into the walled off space, the corpse fell to dust. In 1960, the castle and the 100 acres of surrounding land were sold for about £8,000. It opened briefly as a health farm, though this proved to be financially unhealthy, and it was closed again soon afterwards. Nowadays, Kilkea Castle is a successful luxury hotel with a championship golf course. So if you are ever in Ireland and fancy to delve into some mysterious history, you are always welcome to stay at Kilkea Castle, if you dare. So that concludes our story for today. The Wizard of Kilkea Castle. Thank you guys so much for watching. Your support recently has been amazing and we really appreciate it. This is Jay from Our Legends. Good night and good luck.